girls with their nails done. Girls with their nails done. I like the girls with their nails done.
I assume you just got Gara Prime for free during the Tenacon stream. And now you're looking for a build to dominate the Steelpath star chart for Gara Prime? I got you, my Tenno. Today I'm going to show a build that can easily destroy Steelpath enemies. But first let's do a little recap on her abilities. Starting off with Shattered Lash, which may be the most confusing of them. All as it is considered a pseudo-exalted ability. Pseudo-exalted abilities are unique in that they cannot be modded directly like traditional exalted weapons. Instead, these abilities takes the mods used on your currently equipped melee weapon. More importantly, they completely ignore the melee's base stats. This means you can use any single melee weapon with the same mods and you will see the same damage on your Shattered Lash. Do note that melee is used to buff abilities are commonly referred to as stat sticks. I would like to note that Gara's Shattered Lash is also unique compared to other exalted weapons, unlike other Warframes that uses their pseudo-exalted or exalted weapons to kill enemies. Gara's Shattered Glass can be built for combo, however it's important to note that it has 0% base status and critical chance, so we can't use Blood Rush and Weeping Wounds for this. Now Lash has two distinct modes. Tap and hold. Tapping causes Guard to thrust her sword forward, dealing puncture damage and pushing enemies within a 0.75 meter radius back, while on the other hand holding the ability key down will instead have her sweep her sword from the left to right in a 225-degree angle, dealing slash damage, ragdolling all enemies on hit. Do take note that puncture and slash damage are different from slash and puncture status effects. Gara's second ability, Splinter Storm. Cast an armor of glass shards that give Gara damage reduction that can cap to 90%. The best part is you only need 130% power strength to achieve it. This armor also damages enemies that gets close to you. This damage radius scales with your range. The damage of Splinter Storm stacks every time you destroy your fourth ability using your Shattered Lash. It takes 50% of the damage from the shards of your fourth ability. And this damage stacks almost infinitely, capping only to billions. And another one is that even violence can't remove your Splinter Storm, and that the only thing that can remove it is by death of falling, nullifier bubbles and demolist. Gara's third ability, Spectrurage. This ability traps enemies into a circle of mirrors, and when the mirrors get destroyed, it explodes and damages nearby enemies. This ability has an augment mod called Spectrosiphon, which grants enemies a 50% chance to drop energy orbs when killed inside the Spectrurage. For this build, we will subsume Nourish over Spectrurage. It is an ability from Grendel which provides massive viral damage and energy multiplier from all sources. This mod will give your weapon viral damage, so you don't have to mod for viral in your weapons. This mod lets your Warframe spread viral procs to nearby enemies every 2 seconds when getting damaged. Gara's fourth ability, Mass Vitrify. Gara creates a ring made out of glass, and every enemy that is caught inside the ring will be vulnerable to damages from all sources. This ring draws strength from the number of crystallized enemies. And when Gara destroys the wall using her first ability, the ring will explode and deal IPS damage. A great mechanic of Mass Vitrify is that it resets the duration of your Splinter Storm, eliminating the need to cast it again. While casting Mass Vitrify, Gara is turned into an invulnerable state, which can also be useful for some cases. However, every time you're in the animation of casting Mass Vitrify, your energy will drain per second. This is affected by duration and efficiency, just like channeled abilities. Now let's move on to the build. We will focus on buffing out Gara's range and strength. As such, we have to maximize the radius of our Splinter Storm and the damage multiplier of our Shattered Lash and Vitrify wall. So to achieve this, we use Stretch and Augur Reach for the range, Transient Fortitude and Power Drift for the 70% power strength. With 170% power strength, we easily achieved the 130% power strength requirement for the 90% damage reduction for our Splinter Storm. To counter the negative effect of Transient Fortitude, we put on Prime Continuity and Augur Message, since we want to have a high uptime for our Nourish. Alternatively, you can swap Augur Message for Augur Secrets if you want more power strength. The Augur mods is important because we will pair this up with our Aura mod Brief Respite to shield gate another layer of defense for our Gara. rolling guard for the 3 seconds invulnerability and status cleanse, and equilibrium for the health to energy conversion. We will be using the synth mods to our companion so we can pick up health orb even at full health. For the arcanes, we use arcane energize and molt augmented. Energize for the additional energy. This will stack up with the nourish buff and molt augmented for the flat 60% strength when fully stacked. As for the stat stick, you can use any melee weapons as such 99% of the time, they would perform the same. I said 99% because there are weapons like the dual cleaver and jaw sword that has a unique augment mod that gives them an additional 100% damage increase. We also have the ceramic dagger incarnate, which has a passive that gives our melee an additive 30% crit chance, and this crit chance is passed through our shattered lash. I would talk about this in a separate video. Now for our melee. I will use the dual cleaver as such it is easy to obtain, and we have the augment mod called Justice Blade that gives us 100% increased damage. Now for the build. We put Prime Pressure Point and Spoiled Strike for the additive base damage increase. These will be the two common mods that you will put into your stat stick. Now since I'm using dual cleaver and this specific melee has a special mod called Justice Blade that gives us 100% damage increase. If your melee does not have these kinds of special mods, you can just put Corrupted Charge since our Shattered Lash also scales with Combo Multiplier. Now we put an Augur Strike for the puncture damage, since we will use our Quick Tap which produces puncture damage. And the last 4 mods are just raw elemental mods. We mod Corrosive and Blast. Our aim for this is to get the additional damage for each faction, as such if we're facing enemies with ferrite armor, we can deal more damage to them using Corrosive, and if the enemies are inside our fort, all the damage we've done to them will be converted into our stack in our Splinter Storm. For the primary weapon, you can use whatever you want. You can use Kuva Brahma or any high KPM weapons to stack up your Molt Augmented. Or if you're facing corrupted or corpus enemies, you can use the Miter with its neutralizing mod so you can permanently destroy the nullifying bubble, since those bubble are your only real threat when facing against corpus and corrupted enemies. And now for our secondary weapon. You can also use any weapons. However, I recommend using the Epitaph for the additional crowd control since Epitaph force procs cold. I also recommend Latum if you want to use it as an acolyte killer. But first I'll show you the Epitaph build. Barrel diffusion for the flat multi-shot, since we won't kill anyone with this weapon. We then mod it for corrosive heat just for additional status procs, and Augur Secret and Augur Pact for the status duration. And shield gating, then primed fulmination to increase our blast radius. And Gunslinger for the fire rate, then to top it all we use ammo mutation mod for the ammo recovery. For our Latum evolution, we picked 20% fire rate for the evolution 2. For our evolution 3 we picked 30% reload speed when we hit our enemies on the head. Then for evolution 4 we picked 50% Incarnate charge up on headshot, so we can use our Incarnate form much quicker. For evolution 5, we picked overwhelming attrition. We don't need to use the Latum to get the damage buff. It triggers any weapons that we use. Since our Shattered Glass doesn't have any crit or status chance, our buff will always be up. And now, for the Latum build we use Galvanized Diffusion for the multi-shot and Galvanized Shot for the gun CO, Anemic Agility for the fire rate, then we mod it with Corrosive and Heat to strip 90% of the Acolyte's armor. Then Prime Target Cracker and Prime Pistol Gambit for the critical damage and critical chance. Secondary Deadhead since we will be aiming at the heads of our enemies when charging our Latum. And that's it for our Gara Prime build. Subscribe, like and ring the notification bell if you like these kinds of content. And always thank you for watching.